One of the nonprofits says it wants to make things right and give the money it received, $65,000, to the survivors and family members.
America, remember that Maine shooting fund scandal that was exposed last week? The one where nonprofits diverted $1.9 million meant for the Lewiston shooting victims? Well, one of them just got caught and had to return $65,000. But here's the problem. That's only 3% of what they stole.
Donations meant for victims of Maine's deadliest shooting somehow wound up in the bank accounts of several nonprofits, including 9 Somali-linked nonprofits.
Victims are demanding answers, families want to know where their donations went, and the state of Maine is scrambling like eggs to cover up one of the biggest charity fraud schemes in recent history. What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. We've been covering this fraud in Maine since the whistleblower came forward, and today I'm breaking down exactly how they got caught, who's still hiding the money, and why this goes way deeper than anybody realizes. Let me give you a quick recap for those who missed the deep dive last week. October 25th, 2023, a gunman opened fire in Lewiston, Maine, killing 18 people and injuring 13 others, the deadliest mass shooting in Maine's history.
In the wake of Maine's worst shooting, with 18 lives lost, Americans stepped in and donated $6.6 million.
Donations poured in from across the country. Americans opened up their wallets, helped victims and their families. People thought that their money was going directly to victims.
Some members of the community, in fact, calling on the DOJ to investigate possible fraud within the Lewiston Shooting Fund, as we learned that nearly $2 million went to 29 different nonprofits since the October 2023 shooting.
But here's what actually happened. The Maine Community Foundation distributed that $1.9 million to local nonprofits, not the actual victims, not the actual families, to nonprofits who were supposed to use it for victim services.
In Maine's worst shooting, Jennifer Zenka was shot twice. She endured multiple surgeries and then struggled to pay for them.
The victims received little to nothing. Families struggled with medical bills, funeral costs, trauma counseling. They got pennies, while the nonprofit obviously got millions. And then we found out where the money actually went. Now here's where the fraud gets exposed. These nonprofits didn't use the money for the actual shooting victims. They diverted it to completely unrelated programs. Sounds familiar?
And I have visited every organization that you put up on the screen and said, just tell me what you did with the money. I'm not here to question why you got the money, which is wrong, but I just want to know what you did with the money. And it's turned into, well, you're a racist for asking, get out of here. You know, how dare you ask these questions?
General operations, existing programs, administrative costs, stuff that had nothing to do with actually helping the shooting victims. They used a tragedy to fund their regular budget.
They told us that night that 100% of the funds would go to the victims.
And when the victims started asking questions, when the families started demanding accountability, these nonprofits obviously stonewalled them, refused to provide documentation, claimed they used the money appropriately until the whistleblower came forward and exposed everything. Hold up, before I show you exactly how they got caught, I got to tell you about something that's going to blow your mind. You know what happened before I started exposing all these frauds that are happening across the United States? I got absolutely flooded with scam calls. I mean, flooded. Indian scammers telling me my car warranty was about to expire. Thank you, come again. Filipino scammers claiming my Venmo got hacked. Your Venmo got hacked. These criminals buy your personal information from data brokers who are selling your details without your permission. It's just like these Maine nonprofits stole donation money without permission. Look at this. When I Google my own name, dozens of data broker sites are selling my personal information. Your phone number, your address, your email, your financial details. It is all for sale to the highest bidder. And that is exactly how fraud operations work. They get your data and they exploit it. That is why I am proud to partner with today's video sponsor, Aura. Since I started using Aura, those scam calls have dropped dramatically. No more Indians telling me my car warranty is about to expire. No more people claiming that my Venmo got hacked or my social security number got loose. Aura identifies which data brokers are selling your information and automatically removes them from their database. hackers. They monitor the dark web 24/7. They provide real-time fraud alerts. And if something does happen, they include $5 million in identity theft insurance with US-based fraud experts available around the clock. Listen, you can try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/Tyson DeLaCruz. Again, that's aura.com/Tyson DeLaCruz. That is enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal information off these data broker sites without you even lifting a finger. And here's the thing, this trial won't last forever. And with fraud exploding like we're seeing in Maine, you can't afford to wait. The link is in the description. Get protected now before it's too late. Now, let me show you exactly how these Maine nonprofits got caught. So after the fraud was exposed last week, after victims went public demanding their money, one nonprofit finally caved.
One of the nonprofits says it wants to make things right and give the money it received, $65,000, to the survivors and family members.
$65,000 returned, but here's the math. $1.9 million diverted, $65,000 returned. That's 3.4%. Where's the other 96%?
That donations meant for victims of Maine's deadliest shooting wound up somehow in the bank accounts of 29 nonprofits with no connection to the shooting.
The other nonprofits are staying silent like a mute, refusing to return funds, claiming they used the money appropriately for victim services, even though victims say they received nothing.
They raised money for nonprofits on the backs of 18 people who were murdered, 13 people who were shot, and 136 people who escaped their attempted murder. They used that to raise money for nonprofits.
And obviously the victims are calling them liars. The families are demanding full accounting of where every dollar went. But these nonprofits are hiding behind vague statements about community support and trauma services. Now the Maine Attorney General has launched an investigation. But here's what's interesting. They're moving really slow, almost like they don't want to find out anything.
David Jones, a Republican candidate for governor, has started an online petition to ask the DOJ and Pam Bondi to come in and do an investigation.
No timeline for completion, no updates on findings, no indication that they're actually going to hold anybody accountable, just vague statements like reviewing this matter.
Destiny Johnson also survived the shooting that night and is demanding answers.
You know, why would you give money to nonprofits that aren't even helping any of the survivors?
Victims are obviously losing their patience. They want answers. They want their money back now. But the state is dragging their feet like a gimp, and they're hoping this story goes away.
The Maine Community Foundation declined our request for an interview, but says they were clear from the outset that there were two different funds, and their, quote, communication to the recipients of the Victims and Families Fund regarding contributions referred to that fund only.
The Maine Community Foundation, the organization that distributed money to these nonprofits, is defending their decision, claiming that they followed proper protocol and procedures, saying they vetted the nonprofits, but they won't explain why victims got nothing while the nonprofits got millions. And here's what makes this even worse. This isn't the first time Maine had charity fraud problems. We've been covering the fraud in Maine since the whistleblower came out on other schemes.
Groups like Empowered Immigrant Women Unite, Generation Noor, New Mainers Public Health Initiative, the Somali Bantu Community Association, and Gateway Community Services, which has been accused of misusing taxpayer funds.
There is a pattern of mismanagement and fraud in Maine's nonprofit sector, weak oversight like what we see in other blue states and cities, minimal accountability, organizations that operate with zero transparency, and when they get caught, they face zero consequences.
Former Governor Paul LePage, who is also now running for Congress, reached out to the governor and said, hey, let's work together on this. Governor Mills rejected that offer with her. This is a huge cover-up.
The lack of state oversight allows this fraud to flourish. Nonprofits know that they can divert money because nobody's watching. And when victims complain, the state moves slower than a tortoise. And by the time they investigate, the money's already gone. If you want to get caught up on everything that we've uncovered about Maine fraud, I created a playlist with all of our coverage. The link will be somewhere above or in the description below. We've been tracking this for months, and it goes way deeper than just the Lewiston shooting fund. America, here's what you need to understand about this Maine nonprofit fraud. One organization returned $65,000 because the fraud was exposed by the victims and public. But $1.9 million was diverted, which means there's still $1.8 million unaccounted for. These nonprofits use mass tragedy to fund their regular operations. They took money meant for victims and families and spent it on programs that had nothing to do with helping shooting victims. The Maine Attorney General is investigating, but they're moving at a pace that suggests that they don't really want to find anything. The Maine Community Foundation is defending their distribution decision, even though the victims received almost nothing. But here's the good news. Victims aren't backing down. Families are demanding full accountability. National attention is forcing these nonprofits to respond, and the $65,000 return proves that they know that they're guilty. The other nonprofits holding the remaining $1.8 million are watching to see if the story goes away. Don't let it. Share the video. Demand accountability. Make sure Maine shooting victims get the money Americans donated to help. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.